afternoon, everyone. January 2021. 2021, the year of our Great Awakening, when we find ourselves questioning absolutely everything about our lives. And for today's post, we're going to look at our education systems and what education is teaching us or not teaching us. And I want to refer today to a Russian writer, Yuri Nagibin, and his short story, The Winter Oak. Very explicit in pointing out exactly what the problem is with our education systems. The school is in Moscow, and Anna Vasilevna is the young teacher. She's very proud of herself because she is getting through the curriculum, getting through the agenda, and she's teaching these young children in front of her what nouns are. And she's delighted when they all shout up names of nouns: pen, window, door, book. She's delighted with herself. And then a little voice comes in, "May I come in?" And Nagibin describes this little child coming in. A small figure in worn felt boots and covered in sparklets of frost that were thawing and losing their brightness stood by the half-open door. The round face was burning and as red from the frost as if it had been rubbed with beetroot, while the eyebrows were grey with rime. This little boy is all dishevelled, unlike the other children in the classroom. They're all neat and have come to school very well prepared. This is Savushkin, and he's late again. Savushkin is always late. And he always explains he doesn't know why he's late, because he takes the shortcut through the woods. The other children come the longer way around by the road, but he comes the shortcut, but he's always late. And the teacher, Anna, just cannot understand this, and she's very annoyed with him. And the class goes on ahead, and they continue to shout up names of nouns at her. And then Savushkin pipes up and says, "Winter oak." And she's really annoyed. How can winter oak be a noun? And she asks the child, "Does your mother work?" And the child says she's on the second shift, she's going to school, or she's going to work at 3 o'clock today. And the teacher says, "I'm going to come home with you and have a word with your mother." And the child is delighted. "Yes, Mommy would be delighted to welcome you to our house." And they start off at 2 o'clock, plenty of time to get there. And she says to him, "We'll go the short way." And he takes her into the wood. And Nagibin describes what happens. As soon as they stepped into the forest, and the fir branches that looked like paws, heavily laden with snow, closed behind them, they were immediately transported into another world, an enchanted world of peace and silence. Magpies and crows flew from tree to tree, shaking the branches, knocking off the fir cones, and sometimes their wings caught on the dry, brittle twigs and broke them. Yet not a sound could be heard. Anna, the teacher, is totally transfixed in this little world of this little child. And here the roles are reversed. She is now looking for information. She's asking the questions and the child is giving her the information. And he points out the pellets of the elk and the deer. And she asks all the questions and he gives her the answers. She asks, "Well, why is all of the river not frozen? Why only some parts of it?" And he explains again very patiently, "Well, there are hot jets of water in onto there." And he pulls back some of the foliage and he shows her the little hot bubbles bubbling up. And she is totally mesmerised. And she begins to think. And then they come to the place where the oak, the winter oak, is standing. And she's totally caught up in this winter oak. In the middle of the glade, clothed in glittering white raiment, huge and majestic as a cathedral, stood an oak. It seemed as if the trees had respectfully stood aside to give their older brother room to display himself in all his strength. The lower branches spread out over the glade like a canopy. She is totally mesmerised by this world, and the child brings her to the oak and points out all the little places where all the little insects have taken up their habitation for the winter months, the winter oak. They've all found a little safe resting place, and he points them all out to her, and she's transfixed. A number of other lodgers, beetles, lizards and small insects, had taken refuge at the foot of the oak. Some had buried themselves under the roots. Others had wriggled into crevices in the bark. Emaciated, practically hollow inside, they were surviving the winter in a sleep from which they could not be woken. The mighty tree, laden with life, had gathered so much living warmth round itself that the poor creatures could not have found a better lodging. Anna Vasilevna was gazing with delighted interest at this secret forest life, hitherto unknown to her, when she heard Savushkin exclaim in concern, "Oh, we'll miss Mother now." He couldn't get her out of the woods to get home to meet his mother before she left for work. And now she realises why this child is always late. And she reflects on it. And at the end she says, well, she thinks, I've spent my time in the classroom teaching children nouns and verbs and adjectives, thinking I'm great getting this done. And yet this child here has a wealth, a richness of knowledge that I know nothing about. And she wonders, who is going to make the better citizen? The children that she's teaching in the classroom how to differentiate between nouns and verbs, or this mysterious and wonderful child here in front of her? Who's going to make the better future citizens? So there are lessons there for us. There are lessons for us to learn in nature that we are never told about in class or never taught in our education systems. For example, we watch the birds feeding. We see them take exactly what they need for that particular point in time, and they fly away off. They don't hoard and carry stuff with them for later on, because they know, they have total trust in the universe, that when they're hungry again, food will materialize for them. We see the river flowing down, and there's a tree in the middle of the river. The river doesn't try and knock the tree down. The river flows around the tree. Get the message? And of course, the trees themselves, they bend and they sway in the wind. They don't try and stand up against the wind. They go with the flow. So you see, all the lessons we learn here in nature. Nature is our best teacher. That is where we learn the lessons. And our education systems are all geared towards our left brain capacity, where we're given the information, the facts, the figures, we learn them, we store them, we regurgitate them in an exam, and surprise, surprise, we pass. We are not given anything that nurtures the right side of our brain. That side that questions and thinks, nothing's happening there for us. And in this present age of advanced technology, our right side of our brain is being dumbed down even further. So the lessons we have to learn there in this short story, we have to learn that our greatest teacher is nature. And we need to spend more time outside in nature and treasure and value all the lessons that nature is giving us. Until we meet again, namaste.